Morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 5th meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We're glad you're with us, and we will begin, as we always do, with an invocation. Joining us this morning is Nathan Woolard, who's the youth pastor of Henderson Church of Christ. Nathan, if you join us, and would everybody please stand.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all that you do for us in our lives. We thank you for this country and for the blessing it is to be able to live here and the freedoms we have. We pray that you help us to use those freedoms in a way that's pleasing to you. And we thank you for this leadership that we have in this country, federal level, the state level, and the local level here. I pray that you be with the leaders as they lead us in this country and help us to have the lives that we have today. Be with us in this session in court and help all those that are involved, help them to have good and right judgment, as well as, again, being pleasing to you and honorable to you in their actions. Thank you so much for being our God and for your love for us and how wonderful you are and how powerful you are. And we pray that you help us to always see you in this world and notice your power and live our lives according to you. Thank you for sending your son to die for us and for, again, that great act of love and him shedding his blood and allowing us the opportunity to have life. We pray that you would always help us to seek your guidance in everything, and again, especially today, through these court proceedings, Lord. We love you, and we're thankful to be yours. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate you being here this morning. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Alexander.
Here.
Magistrate Todd.
Here.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Here.
Magistrate Putman.
Here.
And Magistrate Warren.
Here.
After a Labor Day weekend, I hope everybody thoroughly enjoyed. You have before you, gentlemen, the minutes of the August 22nd Henderson County Fiscal Court meeting. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments, additions, or corrections? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
The school year is underway, and we have our first Judges Scholar of the Year with us this morning, Mr. Price Piercy from Chandler Elementary School, and I'd like for Price to join me right up here in front so we can read a very special proclamation in your honor.
Okay, Price, this is all for you. Price Piercy has been chosen by Chandler Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award because he made a choice to accept changes that would benefit his education and well-being. And whereas change is not always easy, however, Price, your ability to embrace change has led to growth that will only further your successes in life. And whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring a winning point, achieving a particular goal, or just taking necessary steps for overall improvement. And whereas the Henderson County school system could not let your efforts go unnoticed, and whereas Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these changes as being significant because students such as you, Price, will be our future leaders. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim September 5th, 2017 as Price Piercy Day.
Maybe. Here, right here.
Kindle.
Mine too. Mr. Gold, it does feel good to have a co-pilot back with us. Always helps things run smoother, and I must say, I really dig Price's haircut. I got to check
do
out his
too.
barber. I'm not sure I can pull it off with the same aplomb he does, but I'm willing to give it a shot. Congratulations. I'm sure your parents are very proud and the school's very proud, and glad you're with us today. And we will be headed to lunch a little bit later, right? Okay. We have with us this morning Brian Williams from the city of Henderson, who is going to give us an update on the Henderson landfill. As many of you know, or most of you know, I hope the landfill has reached the end of its life, and we are making adjustments to continue to provide services to the people of Henderson and Henderson County. And I thought it would be good for Brian to come in and give us the latest. The city will be, I think, discussing this evening at City Commission or soon. Next week. So you should have at your places some information that Brian has brought to us this morning. And with that, I'll let Brian take it away.
Okay, before we get started, this only affects the CD&D part of the landfill, not the transfer station. Your household garbage, the city and county residents can still take their household trash to the transfer station at no cost. This will just be,
Let's see.
the CD&D part we're talking about. Basically, you're currently right now, as Brad said, the CD&D landfill is just about done. So we've had to come up with an alternate plan to make it usable for the city and county residents mostly, so they have a place to dispose of their debris. So we've come up with the idea, basically it's the same as the transfer station. It's going to be a transfer point on top of the hill without the building. With city employees and with some of the concrete contractors that constructed the wall, poured our concrete pad, we're almost ready at that point. We have a little bit of metal work to do to be ready for the transfer over to the transfer point. Currently, the rates that are charged are, if you are commercial and you're from Henderson County, it's $40 a ton, and it's charged in 400-pound increments, so that's $8 every 400 pounds. If you're from outside of Henderson County, it's $70 a ton, charged in that 400-pound increment, so that's $14 a ton. And currently, there's no charge for the residents of the city or the county to dump on the CD&D. When this transfer station takes effect, we will have to pay Davis County $25 a ton to dispose of this debris. So we're looking at, on the September 12th, this was discussed at a city workshop with the commission, and this is what they agreed that they would like to do, and this will be on on the agenda on September 12th for their first reading. But the new rates that will go into effect will be Henderson County commercial would go to $60 a ton, and that would be $12 every 400 pounds. Anything outside of Henderson County would go to $90 a ton. That's $18 every 400 pounds. And at this time that we look for the city and county residents to help support that $25 a ton charge of disposal. So we're looking at the city residents paying $25 a ton based on the 400-pound increments at $5 every 400 pounds. So it looks like, for the most part, a city or county resident that took something to the CD&D will fall under that, probably that $10 to $15 a load range. That's about where they'll fall. More than likely, this will take effect on November 1st, depending on the reads over the September. And also, we are due for a bid opening for a material handler, a piece of equipment to load this material at the end of this week. And it depends on when that piece of equipment will be available. So that's kind of what we're looking at, price change and time frame. And also this will bring about, it's not going to be an exact science. We're going to have to learn as we go. So we're going to be limited on our transfer point. The area is 60 by 80. So we're going to have to limit some of the things that we've always taken, just for the fact that if someone brings a tractor trailer load of material in it, there's no sense in dumping it and reloading it in a tractor trailer. They may as well go ahead and take this stuff to Davis County. The city codes department has already made arrangements to put extra money in their budget to take their houses that they're demoing. You know, they're taking those to Davis County now. And I've called Randy here at the county and told him the same thing. We need to look at that, just that we just don't have the means to handle large materials anymore. Some of the things that we may have to look at excluding is some of the logs from the trees. If someone brings in a log that's as big as the bench, you know, we're not going to be able to accommodate some of that. They may have to go ahead and take it, you know, to wherever they need to take it rather than bring it to us. So it's going to be a learning curve until we get this started to see what we can handle and how much we can take. Because, you know, ultimately at the end of the day, this pad will have to be cleaned off and kept clean. So that's kind of what we're looking at this point.
This discussion was covered in the last meeting of the City-County Work Group, and a couple things to reiterate here is household refuse will still remain no charge for city and county residents to dump. Obviously, the county contributes a significant amount of money now to the landfill to make that true. What these rate changes are doing is covering the added cost now of the dump sending CD&D landfill stuff to Davis County. And there was brief discussion about in our city-county work group about utilizing additional county funds to cover the cost for county residents in dumping CD&D landfill materials, but that did not take into account the fact that the city was not interested in doing the same thing at this point for city residents. So for people in Butch's district or Carter's district, this, you know, any effort by the county to make cover the cost would not impact your constituents, and they would still be paying the extra rate. We didn't think that was fair unless we could do it for all the county, including the city districts. We probably could not do it at all. So, and again, this just applies to construction, demolition, debris. Any other questions for Brian or any thoughts on that?
Well, it just kind of concerns me on when you start picking and choosing on what you're going to take, because that causes problem. People get up there with their trucks and, oh, we can't take this or we can't take that. And I know that is very frustrating it's happened to me a few times on different things. And
we'll try our best to post something that has some kind of guidelines as once we see that this is going to take effect. We'll do the best we can to, and we'll try to take as much as we can, because it'll be, especially the commercial end, it's going to be money making for.
Well, what are you going to do if you have a tree blow down and you have it sawed up? What are you going to do? Or you said take it somewhere else. Where would that be?
Well, as I say, there's other dump sites in the county. I think Billy Ray has a CD&D. Hazex has a construction demolition landfill. There's going to be other options. You can take it to Davis County. There's a lot of places that are doing burn piles.
Along that same line, though, of course, I'm out in First District, and I was going to bring up the same issue in that we do have a problem with people either going down Horseshoe Bend area and or Ohio River, I guess, number one. Not that a commercial person would do it per se, because I think they would know about the other locations, but I could see an individual that would say they just go down one of the country roads and.
Well, you can't fix all the issues. I think when you took the green boxes out of the county, they thought it was going to be more of an issue than it turned out to be, and it really wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. So, and this is just part of the landfill closing, and
Right.
the city, county is not responsible, they're not obligated to have a CD&D landfill for the county, period. I mean, we could have just shut it down, but we're trying to find a way that we can still operate and do it the best we can, so.
And even with the current situation, we're still having issues with dumps.
Well, that's
It's
what,
not
but I
getting
think
people
this
from
may
dumping
add,
now.
I just add
it-
to the issue.
It is a concern, but again, household refuse will still be free, still be available. It's the CD&D part that is closing, and the cost of the county, for instance, getting in the CD&D landfill business ourselves is prohibitive, in the millions of dollars.
And this may be something that we do for a couple of years and see how it works out, and we can tweak it at that point. This is something we have not done, so we're going to have to learn as we go to figure it out.
And I think the city-county work group will play a pretty significant role in helping tweak it and getting feedback and adjusting as we go to see what works best.
I think, one other thing, what's the status, and Bill, you may have to answer this, I'm not sure, on Mark Bowling's request for a CDNL?
As last I've heard, it was still on hold due to, some groundwater issues. So I don't know how it's, at that point, it was still on hold.
Okay.
So there are some places in the county that they can take trees and stuff
Yes.
For a fee.
For a fee, yeah.
for a fee. Yeah.
But you could call these
Well,
these other.
Are you
folks.
privy to the fee? Just curious. Are
I
they
don't-
anywhere near?
I don't know what those fees are, but I do know that Owensboro, Davis County, if someone took theirs debris from here to there, their rate is $21.25 a ton for their CD&D and $27.25 for their transfer station for their solid waste.
I just think that would be prohibitive. That's too far. And that for people that are just trying to clean up and usually got.
But you understand, we're trying to make it where we have something available to the people, but and we may be able to take more than we think we can. But at this point, we're just going to have to leave ourselves open because we don't want to.
I understand. But when you pick and choose, it's just like recycling. You can go out there, well, we don't take this or we don't take that. And then you just say to heck with it and just don't do it at all. I mean, I'm just telling you how, that's just the way it is. When it gets to be more trouble than it's worth, people won't do it.
Well, it's their choice. Of course, out in the county, you always have the burn
Okay.
option.
All right.
Again, I think considering the cost, this is just an attempt to keep a CD&D option open for people in the county, and I look forward to spending the next year seeing how this goes, and hopefully the city will approve these rates in a timely fashion so that the month of October can be spent helping to educate the public and also other commercial folks out there who may be using this service as to what the options are, what the limitations may be.
And if you wanted to know, just a breakdown, the city opposed the county residents that use the CD&D. This was for July 1st, 2016 through June 30th of 2017. 1 year's time, city residents, there was 6,385 that used the CD&D. County residents, 6,421. So that's the volume of residents that went up there. And then the tonnage is 1,906 for city, 1,919 for a county. That's the number
Pretty
of
much,
tons.
pretty even, isn't
Pretty
it?
even, pretty even. And that doesn't account, your commercial or city government, county government. That's just the city residents.
One last thing, though, on Ohio River, one, and also on Horseshoe Bend. I think if we could put a sign up, and I mean, we may have to put a large sign up, just says, no dumping or something, because there's a lot of people. As soon as the dump closes at 3:30, at 3:45, they're going down those side roads. And just as a caution, if we had some signs up, maybe they would give it a second thought. I don't know. Maybe they're still going to do it, but.
I believe those signs are going up, if I'm
Oh,
not mistaken.
okay.
Yeah, because dumping in those areas has been an issue now for quite some
Yeah,
time. There was some talk, I know, in the city-county work group of eliminating access altogether for outside the county visitors. In the end, they decided to put a rather steep price, as you can see here. I think we left open the question, Brian, of event at some future point, maybe, not allowing access to the dump from folks from outside the county, but at the moment, this was the decision. And I don't know whether, if word would get around that our landfill is more expensive or not available to outside the county residents, whether that will help illegal dumping or not, if they're not coming over in the first place. But again, that's something to kind of watch and see how it goes. I know for the city, the illegal dump question is not quite as acute as it is for us, but we're going to keep close track on it. Any other questions for Brian? And we'll be in close consultation with the city as this moves through their processes over the next month. Thank you for coming this morning. And
No problem.
any of your comments? Thank you. Okay, next in your packets we have a couple procedures to execute here on a CDBG grants for the Warm Center. And we are both closing out a grant period that just ended, or about to end, and we're also about to open a new one. And to do this, we need to go into public hearing. So I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing to review a closeout of the Community Development Block Grant for the Warm Center.
I move we go into a public hearing for the Warm Center grant.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Let's take a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
So we're now in public hearing, and I'd like Joanna from GRAD to come up and give us a quick briefing on the closeout of the grant.
You bet. Good morning. The purpose of this public hearing is to inform the public that the project has been closed out. All of the funds have been expended. $220,000 was utilized for the project for WARM salaries and operations. WARM's been in existence for 10 years, and currently 112 women are served at the facility. The facility was originally constructed using Kentucky Housing Corporation funds through their home project program, affordable housing trust funds, low-income tax credits, and monies from the Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati. Once the minutes are typed, the closeout will go up to Department for Local Government this week.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Shake on the closeout of this period of grant funding for WARM? I follow the letter of the law. I need any other folks in the audience who'd like to comment on the closeout? Second time, any other comments from the public? And finally, any other people who would like to comment on this closeout? So now I'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing so we can vote on the closeout. Please, can we do that in public hearing, Steve? Okay. Motion to go out of public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
So we need a motion to approve the closeout of that grant. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So move. Second.
A motion and a second. Any other questions about that? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Thank you. And now we're going to discuss the application for the next round of CDBG funding for the Warm Center, and we need to go into public hearing for that. So I'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Aye.
Ms. Shake, would you describe the application, please?
You bet. The purpose of this public hearing is to provide information to the public concerning the proposed Women's Addiction Recovery Warm Community Development Block Grant and to obtain views on housing and community development needs in Henderson County. The public hearing also serves to inform low and moderate income persons that technical assistance is available through the Green River Area Development District to help with proposals with the CDBG program. Block grant falls into 4 different categories: economic development, public facilities, housing, and public services. The WARM project falls within the public services category. WARM is one of 11 recovery centers throughout the Commonwealth. The goal of the Recovery Kentucky program is to assist those folks that are recovering from alcohol and substance abuse. It's been recommended by the Department for Local Government that we make an application in the amount of $200,000 for the 2017-2018 program. Funds will be utilized to pay staff salaries and administrative costs associated with the project. Block grant funds are obtained through the Housing and Urban Development program, and therefore the Uniform Displacement Act applies. Although no peoples will be displaced because of this project, I'm just here to let you know that there are information available on behalf of that program through my office. And that's all that I have.
And to speak a little bit on the progress being made by the Warm Center, as you know, it's grown its facilities over the last several years, providing transitional housing for graduates of the program. They have utilized parts of their immediate neighborhood and refurbished whole blocks in order to do that, so it looks much better. It's obviously providing a very important public service that becomes even more important as we deal with things like the opioid crisis in our community. So obviously a very worthwhile endeavor and an important facility in our community. Any other comments or questions from members of the court on the application for new CDBG grants? Any comments from members of the audience or the public on this application? Any public comment? Any other public comments? Thank you, Ms. Shake. I appreciate it. And now I'll entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Thank you. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve the application for CDBG grants on the part of the Warm Center. Excuse me. The clerk is going to read a resolution to that effect.
Okay. A resolution authorizing the judge executive to sign and submit a community development block grant application to the Kentucky Department for Local Government. Be it resolved by the Henderson County Fiscal Court that the judge executive be and is hereby authorized to sign and submit an application for community development block grant funds to the Kentucky Department for Local Government for the Women's Addiction Recovery Manor.
Let the record show I almost made it through that process without screwing up, and I just jumped slightly ahead of myself. But do we have a resolution out in front of the court? Do I hear a motion?
So move. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions about that? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
So close, Joe. So close. But thank you, and best of luck to the Warm Center on that CDBG application. Next, our Occupational Tax Administrator, Andrew Powell. I'd like him to join us, give us an update on collections and any other news he might have.
Thanks, Judge. I woke up this morning on my own because I didn't have power on the 700 block of North Main Street, so I apologize for my tardiness walking in a little late. But that's all right. We'll continue. I wanted to present to you all today because we've got the final numbers. We've been talking about, it seems like we've been talking about the occupational tax river, but we have actually just completed our first full fiscal year of the occupational tax. And it's performed very well, as the judge has said openly, that our circumstance in this county has changed dramatically in the last couple of years, key in part due to this occupational tax, and I appreciate your dedication to our community to make that happen. I just wanted to give you a few numbers. The actual fiscal year revenue generated at the occupational tax for 2016-2017 came to $2.9 million, $2,985,352.33. Of course, 3% of that went to the county, went to the city for their portion of collection. That came to $89,560.57, which is pretty good because we negotiated a contract that they got 3% or $85,000, whichever was more, and the fact that it went over by $4,500 means that we negotiated a pretty
Pretty
darn good
close.
contract. They seem to be happy with that amount, and I can promise you that their efforts at that rate is a good deal for the county. So we're happy with that. That first year that it's been fruitful for both of us. That made the total revenue come into the county $2,895,791.76. That breaks down to roughly $154,000 in net profits. The remainder of which was, and the vast majority of which is the payroll. Of course, that's reflective of the fact that we amended halfway through the fiscal year and made it retroactive to the whole fiscal year, our net profits with the initial $10,000 exemption and the $2,000 cap. So we expected that number to be not as great as it possibly could have been, but it also makes us a viable option for businesses coming into town and being friendly to our commercial developments. So we're happy with that. As of last month, we are now over 1,600 active licensees in the county. It's 1,604 now, as of last week when I talked to Ms. Keaton over at the city. I say this every time, but if you told me there were 1,600 active businesses in Henderson County, and that's not including the city, those are people that are operating in the county outside the city limits, I would have never guessed it's that many. But that's a tribute. We've kind of switched phases now to education to now we're trying to track down everything we can get. So we're still actively every month seeing new licensees becoming enrolled, and we're sending notices out if we have transient businesses doing work in our county. We're making sure that they pay what's due to the county to operate here. As far as that goes, I just wanted to stop by and take a brief moment. I wanted to present those numbers to you. The occupational tax is performing better than we have, and what we've budgeted for next year, the current year we're in, is on par with the success we had last year. It's an aggressive budget, but I take it upon myself that I believe that we should be able to recover that and generate that revenue for the county. That's really all I have. Did you have any questions for me or what we do in our office?
Andrew, do you get a sense of the effectiveness of enforcing and connecting and touching those businesses that are newly arrived or transient and making sure that they get a license?
Actually, we speak in baseball terms. I'm batting 1,000 when it comes to sending notices out. Every single business I've sent a notice to within 2 weeks has sent their application and $25 application fee. That's roughly a little over 200 notices we've sent out, but that's part of the value of having somebody out in the county and looking for that. And I can't share with you the revenue that's generated as far as net profit taxes goes, but that's significant. We've done well there.
And is there anything we can do to help?
Yeah,
Anything
absolutely. Anytime you see somebody, we keep an open roll. It's posted on our website, but also just call me if you want to. If you see a plumber you're not familiar with, or any type of service industry you're not familiar with outside the city limits, of course, give me a call. I'll drive out there. If you take a picture with your camera phone, I've gotten pretty good about sending them pictures of their trucks attached to the letter, and I think that's probably why they know they don't have any defense to it. So we've kind of switched along those lines. We've switched we're now in the collection phase, delinquent collection phase. Everything was due middle of July, so we've started sending out in August, and we'll continue this month, delinquent notices for people who we didn't receive a net profit return from. At that, we'll see what our fruits of that are. That'll, of course, go into this fiscal year, but it'll be for their tax base from last year.
One, for those businesses that don't meet the $10,000 threshold, they still have to give us something that shows
yes,
that, right?
Absolutely. There's if you transact business in our county, the minimum tax obligation is $25. If your net profits are less than the $10,000, the minimum is still $25. Now, if you send in a return that said you didn't have any business in Henderson County this year, but you want to maintain a license, you still send the form in, but you don't owe us the $25. That would be a business in Louisville or something that comes in and does a project every few years. They don't owe us $25. Just it's every time they have business. Every year that they have business, the minimum is $25, according to the ordinance. I'm not making that up. That's what was passed.
Any questions for Andrew?
Andrew, I know we've talked about this, and I'm still trying to come to terms in it in my mind. And this is on, and Steve, you maybe can help with this as well, on the oil production. And I've talked to some farmers who farm the land, but of course they have no interest in the oil wells. And I've talked to oil producers who say, well, there's a country mark that gets the oil and takes it to, say, Mount Vernon. And then, they bring it back in the form of gasoline. So I understand all that. But because I did some leasing for some oil producers, there's a lot of people who have like a 1/8 interest, 1/4 interest that live in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
They live somewhere. They don't have a business license. They don't file, I don't think they have to file a Kentucky tax return, but maybe I'm wrong. But there's got to be several hundreds of thousands of dollars of oil production income that's going out of the county, and maybe millions, because Henderson used to be one of the largest oil producers in the state of Kentucky, that I'm convinced we're not collecting the net profits off of that 1/4, 1/64, 1/8, whatever it be. But I don't know how to track it. And I've talked to different people, but I don't know if you could contact like some area of, let's just pick Texas because they produce oil, and maybe they have a net profit. If there's somebody else who's already addressed this, or maybe you've looked at it since you and I have talked, but it just seems like we're missing some oil producers, because a lot of those deals are sold to out-of-state investors. They're not good old Henderson folks. So I'm just not trying to add tax. I'm just trying to spread the tax.
Sure. No, absolutely. And let me explain what we have done after we've had that conversation. I contacted some eastern Kentucky counties and cities who have mineral rights issues. The vast majority of mineral rights now are held in trust or have been bought up by the mineral companies themselves. Now, the mineral companies in Henderson County are licensed. So for the ones that own the mineral rights there, we've got them. Now, these trusts, you're right, they're broken down. They've been delegated through wills and trusts through the years. And you're right, 1/8 to 1/64. It's funny, we had one 2 months ago. One of the actual stakeholders had a 1/64 interest, but he lived in Istanbul, Turkey. So that's kind of hard to track down. But you'll notice we actually, without knowing it, the ordinance was drafted in such a way that we tax at the agency level, at the business level, not the individual interest level. So we don't get $25 for every interest. We get $25 for that mineral right, is the way it's approached. It's the whole agency brought together, the whole trust brought together. And what we've done is, now we don't have subpoena power or anything to go out and send a blanket letter to every bank in the country to ask. But as far as, like, say, Field and Main and Independence, they have been very reactive in making sure all of those farm trusts and mineral trusts and those that they're acting as agents for minute interest in property and mineral rights have become licensed, and they can't, you're right, they don't file a tax return with the state, but they can file a net profit return with us as a whole, as the ordinance is written, and we are following up on those the best we can. It's just like taking a picture. If you find out somebody's holding an interest, let me know and I can track it down. But there's most of that's not even recorded in the real estate books downstairs anymore.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know if there's a way to get, and again, I don't know legal-wise how much information we can get, say, from a producer. But I'm talking about the person that owns a quarry that lives in Omaha, that money is going from Mount Vernon where the oil is collected straight on out, but it's bypassing Henderson and it's produced in Henderson.
The Minerals Department of the Department of Revenue sends bills out to owners of property like that to tax the unmined or undrilled minerals. So there should be a list of all those out there.
Yeah. And I'm not as interested in the $25 for the license as I am the net profits of the hundreds of thousands, millions, and I don't mean hundreds of millions, but I know there's millions of dollars that is produced in Henderson that, again,
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we tax at every level that we can. I mean, those that we find we're able to. I mean, as far as the list of I mean, we got a list from the Department of Revenue for topside and mineral rights owners.
Okay.
I mean, that happened before I came on board. Ms. Baker did that, actually.
And I'll be glad to assist or make phone calls. But with the people I've talked to, I've kind of run into a stopping point. They don't have any more information to give me to do. But
Sure.
I'll work with you. But that's the
Absolutely.
only other area I can see that we're missing some net profits on.
Sure.
Any additional strategies you can turn up on that? Please come back and report.
We'll be at conference next week. Well, I'll ask around.
Any other questions for Andrew?
I'd just like to comment, Andrew, just you do a yeoman's task with this thing. You've done a fabulous job this past year, so just want to commend you for a job well done.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just a quick question, Andrew, on that 1,604 or so businesses, do you have any idea the distribution among those of who's paying the minimum 25, who's at the max? Is it a bell curve? Is it flat? Is it heavy toward one side or the other?
Due to the vast majority are paying the minimum due to the $10,000 exemption. A lot of these are they've got rental properties or something that don't generate a whole lot of income, and they don't see a net profit of over $10,000, so they just pay the minimum. Now, I will say we did our largest return this year showed a net profit of $4.5 million, which would have $43,000 would have been had we not had the exemption and the caps. So it was so of course they just paid $2,000. So there's some on there's quite a few on both ends. But I mean, if you add the numbers, how many licensees we have versus how much we brought in, most of them are in the minimum to around $200 range as far as their 1% net profit goes.
I would think too, Charles, being a farmer, because I just farm a small amount, wouldn't a large number of those be probably farm related that are, out of that 1,600?
Yeah.
I'd say a good chunk.
Well, we had quite a few different industries that would send us a check for $2,000 and didn't fill out the form, which is absolutely legal and okay.
Yeah.
We can't ask for more information if you're paying the max liability. Now, if they try to ask for a refund later, it's on them to prove it. It's not our burden at that point. But we did receive quite a few of just $2,000 checks with the license number written on it. So,
And we kind of anticipated that might happen with the.
the less we know, the better, I guess they think. But we're getting as much as we can, so I don't know what more.
I know that's the way they do it in Union County. A lot of the farming
Alyssa,
community just, of course, it's $1,000 cap
Alyssa
there.
forewarned me of that would happen, and it did.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay, any questions for Andrew? Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Bill Hubiak up and brief us on a generator request for the jail that we may have to bid out.
Yeah. Judge, with the kitchen expansion at the jail, it has been drawn to our attention that we have a peak electrical capacity that currently exceeds our 300 kW backup generator. And with the expansion, it is even going to peak out at a higher rate than that. After discussion with the electrical engineering firm and the jail people, and I believe Bruce was at the jail committee meeting when this was brought up, we have investigated it, looked at it, and what we're asking for is permission from the fiscal court to go out for a bid for a 500 kW backup generator to meet the jail's needs. Now, we probably could have got by with a 400, but considering there is a possibility of future expansion some more. Maybe not currently at this time. We felt it would be much better money spent to go one step up and go to the 500 kW. I believe the one that's there now is over 20-some years old. It was there when the jail was built. So
What's its size?
300.
3.
Yeah. We're peaking right now without the new expansion of the kitchen at about 320, 325. So, as you know, and that depends on time of year, what time of day it is, stuff like that. If it goes out, there'll be popping breakers right and left. If it's air conditioning units, running along with the cooking in the kitchen and different things like that. So that's what we're requesting, is to go out for bid per KRS for both the purchase and the installation.
And Jailer Brady anticipates paying for this out of her reserve?
That would be my understanding.
Bill, would that call for bids include an option for trade-in of the old one, or is this going to be supplemental to the old?
It will be supplemental. That will be declared as surplus and either possibly reutilized somewhere else within the county. You're talking about a generator that has, of 20-plus years age on it. Even though they're not used very much, they still have age on them, and then you can start getting into some different components. Along with the generator, you'll need a new transfer switch also to match the 500, so that the old one will be pulled out and be able to be repurposed should we have another spot within the county building areas to utilize that.
Good deal. I just want to make sure if there was an issue of trading it in, and Jailer Brady had at one point mentioned that to me, that if we were going to do that, it does need to be in the call for bids.
Yeah.
So if that's not the plan now, it doesn't need to be.
Bill, what was just the size of the generator that we put at Zion Baptist Church, was it? Just curious.
That was 100.
100.
Yeah, that was 100 at a small building facility like that.
Mhm.
It's we have at the road department.
100 at the road department?
We have 100. It depends on the size of the building, what you plan on utilizing at the time. I mean, if it's just an emergency shelter, people are going to be there, and you got lights and heating and air conditioning, as opposed to they have a full-size kitchen out there, and they have all those different wings. You got to remember, everything out there runs off of electronics. All their security system and everything. All their monitors and things like that. So they have to have the power. They can't be going down there flipping a breaker.
Even the doors run on electricity. Yeah. If you
Small
have to be
detail
locked
there.
in.
Just so you know, you want to make sure that them electronic doors work.
Steve, you recommend a motion on this little piece of information, or?
Yeah, it would just need to approve Bill to prepare the bid specs and go out for bids.
Can I entertain a motion to that effect, please?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions for Mr. Hubiak? Call for a vote, please.
Magistrate Alexander?
Aye.
Magistrate Todd?
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson?
Aye.
Magistrate Whitman?
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Now we'll have second reading of the 2017-18 tax rates, and I'll have the clerk read that real quickly.
Okay, our tax rates have not changed from last year. The real property is 12.8 cents per $100. Personal property is 18.4. Motor vehicles, 8.5. Public service real estate, 11.8. Public service personal, 17.5. Watercraft, 8.5. However, the health department and the extension office, as well as the library, tax rates have changed. The health department is now 5 cents per 100. The library for real property, 9.7. Personal property, 13.04. Aircraft, watercraft, 13.04. Inventory and transit, 13.4. And the extension office, real property is 3.269 cents per 100. Personal property, 4.4958. Motor vehicles, 1.5. And watercraft, 1.5.
Any other comments or questions? Entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comment? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Call Treasurer Brenda Ryder up to update us on claims.
I have two claims, both from the general fund. The first one payable to Randy Tassa in the amount of $1,211.60. This is reimbursement of a building inspector training. The second payable to Visa in the amount of $1,205. This is for the Sheriff's Department, and it comes from his office expense line item.
Entertain a motion to accept those.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions from Ms. Ryder? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got a few checks today. First being a reimbursement for salaries, FICA, and retirement in the amount of $2,919.39. Health, dental, life insurance, $583.68. Jail fees collected, $394.70, and interest in the amount of $91.51. That brings today's total to $3,989.28, and the fiscal year total to date $26,899.12. Price said he's never held almost $4,000 before, so he's going to pass that over to you.
Need a motion to accept those, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions, Mr. Gold? Please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
I'd like to welcome Amelia Wilson here today. She is Representative of Congressman Comer in the 1st District, and we really appreciate how much time you spend in Henderson and all the work that you're doing. If any comments you'd like to make, any updates?
Just thank you for having me. If you should ever need anything, just let me know.
Yes, ma'am. Any other members of the audience that'd like to make any comments for the good of the county? Larry Kerber?
Yes, sir, Judge. Magistrate, just want to give you a quick update or recap of what's been happening. Most of it you know. For instance, Hurricane Henry has, Hurricane Harvey. We're in the recovery basis on that down in Houston and so on. That has come all the way up to here. We've had local resources that have gone down to Texas. Just for instance, Dwight Crooks, who is the assistant fire chief in Cardin, has been deployed to Houston to assist in insurance evaluations and doing insurance work. He's a retired insurance person, so he's taking it's almost till the end of the month he'll be down there for almost 4 weeks. So they're happening there. The eclipse recap there was that it turned out to be much like a non-event, if you will. But everything, I talked to one of the paramedics who was down there on scene, and he said that the eclipse day, Monday, he said was the lightest response that they've ever had on a Monday like that. I think they had 3 responses with all those thousands of people down there, which is just amazing. Of course, we had our traffic jam after it was over with, everybody trying to go home, and it choked everything. We didn't get any help out of the GPS units that tried to assist by getting people off a roadway 69 that may have been clogged up. So it dumped all of those people in Henderson, and that's why our streets are all choked up and so on. What the GPS didn't realize was that normally that would have been a good thing for one vehicle, but when you're talking 15,000, that didn't work. And so that's why they was all dumped down there. But we recovered, didn't have any major incidents of it other than delay in traffic. And the last thing is that I think most everybody's been watching latest tropical storm or hurricane, no, I just forgot the name, Irma. And it has now, as of this morning, been upgraded to a Category 5 hurricane. That's as high as it goes. And the entire state of Florida is under a state of emergency, waiting for landfall, which could come Saturday or Sunday. So already things are being put in place to deal with Irma when it makes landfall. So.
A couple comments. I think the congestion caused by the mass exodus from the eclipse here illustrates why we need more than one route across the river when both KYTC and NDOT consider the I-69 bridge configuration. I think it's a great example of what could happen if we have a natural disaster that affects the twin bridges. The potential is enormous for chaos without second crossing. So in some way I was, felt sorry for those folks who got stuck in that traffic jam. It was just sheer volume this time around.
That's right.
But I do think that it's a great illustration of what we were talking about for the future of our region.
And we're not through yet. In 7 years, we're going to do this again, and Evansville will be one of the total blackouts. So,
yeah, eclipse-wise, yeah.
Eclipse, right.
I want to commend our county clerk's office for helping us arrange some relief donations for Henry. They were partnered with River of Life Church here that had an arrangement with a church down in Houston that requested some specific items, and folks here in the courthouse put together what amounted to a pickup truck full of stuff that I believe is headed down that way today or tomorrow, which is great. And we pray for those folks in Florida batten down the hatch this time. So
Local agencies like Red Cross, Salvation Army, and so on all have teams of resources that have been deployed down there to assist.
yeah. Excellent. Any other questions?
Just a comment, as you watch the news, and I've seen many directors on there speaking about the emergency and the crisis, and just it's food for thought that I know we've got a good plan, but you can't wait to the last minute and start reacting after something happens. So, plan way ahead. Anticipate what's not going to happen.
That's what we try and do is we try and prepare for the worst case scenario. We also prepare or try to prepare for the near miss. For instance, like a tornado, how do you do it and so on. But if it's a direct hit, all bets are off. There's nothing going to do that. So we are trying to do that. And the other thing is like the eclipse and so on, we don't really know. We don't have anything to go back to.
No history, so to speak.
So we have to worry about, instead of proactive, we're going to be reactive in many cases because we don't know where it's going to hit, how bad it's going to be, who it's going to affect. We have to have resources and plans in place to say, if this happens, if that happens, and then sit back and wait until it really does happen.
Thank you, Larry.
Also for the good of the county, thank you very much. Also for the good of the county, in your packets, gentlemen, is a renewal of a partnership affiliation with Crime Stoppers, Henderson County Crime Stoppers, as well as a resolution renewing a small $1 fee that organization collects from court costs that helps them pay for their overhead. And as many of you know, Crime Stoppers is a crime tip network that includes both a local hotline and email address for those who want to report possible crime prevention tips. And I'd like to entertain a motion to renew our agreement of affiliation first, and then I'm going to have the clerk read a resolution renewing Crime Stoppers' ability to collect that $1 fee. So first, do I have a motion to accept this agreement of affiliation with Henderson County Crime Stoppers?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions about this? This is an ongoing relationship had for many years, of course. We'll take a vote, please.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
And if you don't mind, Madam Clerk, reading the brief resolution.
Whereas KRS 431.597 allows for the county to enter into an agreement of affiliation with the local Crime Stoppers organization. Whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court feels that it is in the best interest of the county to enter into such an agreement in order to allow a $1 fee to be collected in court costs from any person convicted of a misdemeanor or violation other than a violation of KRS chapters 186, 187, 188, 189, or 189A, and sentenced to pay a fine for the misdemeanor or violation. Said fee would be dispersed to the local Crime Stoppers organization. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fiscal Court of County of Henderson as follows, that the Henderson County Fiscal Court shall enter into an agreement with the local Crime Stoppers organization in order to allow a $1 fee to be collected in court costs from any person convicted of a misdemeanor or violation other than a violation of KRS's Chapter 186, 187, 188, 189, or 189A, and sentenced to pay a fine for the misdemeanor or violation.
Motion to accept that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that, gentlemen? Again, we're renewing a long-term relationship here.
And just for your information, those chapters exempted are all the traffic statutes. So speeding, expired registration, things like that, that fee does not get added to those.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please call for a vote.
Magistrate Alexander.
Aye.
Magistrate Todd.
Aye.
Magistrate Wilkerson.
Aye.
Magistrate Putman.
Aye.
And Magistrate Warren.
Thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Magistrate Putman for good of the county comments.
Thank you, Judge. First of all, Bryce, congratulations. That's a pretty big honor. I know your parents are very proud of you. Get selected out of the whole school, that's a pretty big deal. And get your own proclamation, like for this day. It's your day. So you got another reason to celebrate, not just your birthday. It's the day, this proclamation. It's Bryce Day. And I know there's a lot to digest in there, and I know Mr. Gold was trying to keep you in the loop. But taxes, dumping fees, and all that seems like it's kind of boring at the time, but you got the insight going forward. Now, if you read an article in the paper, read about the taxes in school and how good Henderson County is when it raise your taxes. You can, if you hear that problem from anybody, you can say, well, hey, Henderson County didn't raise your taxes. I'm just kidding, though, but congratulations.
I don't think he's really kidding, though, is the thing.
and congratulations again, Bryce. And thank you, Judge. All good in the fourth.
Thank you. Magistrate Warren.
Price, also want to congratulate you for what you've done. And actually, I think it's exceedingly well, because Chandler School is a very good school to begin with. So then to be at the top of a very good school, I think it shows what your abilities and capabilities are. And I know he'll obviously go on to do other things. And so it's good that you have the support that you have in your family. One of the things I'd like to bring up, I know I was listening to WSON talking about building and the construction permits. And for the Henderson County, the permits or the dollar amount is lower this month. It's the lowest it's been since January of last year, 2016. So if we had more building and more activity, we would have a way of spreading the tax rate, so we wouldn't even have to raise it as much if we ever have to raise it, because we're spreading it over more, and net profits would be higher than net payroll tax. With that, I'd really think if Kendall doesn't put together something, and he talked about that, Tony talked about maybe putting something together this fall, I'd like to see Fiscal Court or somebody try to do something as far as a community type program, because we've got to do something to improve our building and the jobs that building creates. Owensboro, for example, I saw in the Owensboro paper, Jago is going to start a 306 lot subdivision. One developer, 306 lot subdivision. And at this rate, our rate, that would last Henderson 10 years, because we're averaging about 30 houses a year. And one developer is going to put in 306 houses. So, like I say, as a community, we've got to do something because we're not growing like other communities. And that's just Orangeburg is one example. And I know I keep harping on this, but I really want us to do something to see why we're not. And I don't have the answer. I wished I did. I've talked to hundreds of people and still don't have the answer for what to do.
Magistrate Alexander.
I want to congratulate Bryce on his honor. You're from down in my neck of the woods. I live around between Cardin and Smith Mills, so I went to Cardin School also. It's Cardin then, not A.B. Chandler.
The old school.
I was there when Happy's probably there, you know. But congratulations, and congratulations to you all for producing such a fine young man, and you proud of him, and I know how it is. And the school is outstanding too, Cardin School. I've been hearing a lot of good things about Cardin School. And to a comment with Georgia, you know, we've heard and we all know we got a problem. I don't know who's going to. You need somebody to step up and tell us what to do. It's not people don't want to do anything. They're like me. I don't know what to do.
And
so we have the problem. Give us a solution.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we can come together as a community and get a group and then try to create that solution. I don't think one person can do it, or even the home builders as a group can. It's going to take the community to say, here's what we need to address, whatever that solution be. But the community continues to talk about it, but we haven't come to a solution.
I understand.
I got you. Yeah.
I'm through.
Thank you. Magistrate Wilkerson.
Prices, congratulations on your achievement. Guess everything's good in District 5. We did have 2 buildings downtown sell this week. The downtown diner sold and Crafton's office supply sold. So.
It's good news.
Really who bought that, Carter? You know?
Kenny Floyd bought the Crafton building. And then Mike Hazelwood and Stanley Shields bought the downtown diner.
Good. I was driving by it this weekend, and it needed to be bought by somebody. The old downtown diner, definitely.
Yeah.
Master Todd.
Well, Price, congratulations on your achievement. I know parents are proud of you, and it's a big honor. That school, all the kids, and you got chosen. So, just congratulations, and everything else is good in the county.
Mr. Gold.
I know Magistrate Todd, as the president of CAECO, has had a real busy last few weeks and going to have a busy few more weeks with all the pension things going on. I think we are lucky to have folks like him. I was at a meeting last week. He was out of town, but he had the high-level follow-up meetings afterwards. There's a whole lot going on with that, and I think we're lucky to have people like Magistrate Todd there looking out for our county employees, trying to really solve this issue in a way that's fair to both the employees and taxpayers, and appreciate everything that he's doing on that. And Price, I tell you, we had a lot of things today that I consider boring but important, and I will tell you, I leaned over a couple times. I said, "Are you bored yet?" And he said, "No." And he was asking like intelligent questions. I'm really impressed. This kid gets it. Clearly, that is a reflection of both his school and his family. And I know you're going to go far. You're not just the future of our community. You're the now of our community. Don't let anybody ever tell you, wait, to change the world. Go out, find a way you can change the world, and do it now. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Gold. I'll join the rest of the court in congratulating Price. I look forward to lunch and getting to know you a little bit better. And thanks for coming today and kicking off our school year as the first Judges Scholar of the fall. And we look to honoring more young people in the future. But congratulations, where you go. See you in a bit. Again, want to thank all of you who have done what you could to help the folks in Houston. I have a brother who lives in a suburb of Houston called Katy, Texas, and thankfully his house was not flooded, but I know the outpouring from across the country has touched people in Houston and been quite impressed I guess I shouldn't be surprised at the reaction of the country to natural disasters. We always step up and help. It looks like we may have a chance to do it again soon, unfortunately, in Florida. But thanks to everybody, especially our county team that put together a very quickly pulled together effort to send some meager but sincere relief down to Houston. As in all matters that regard our local economy, Henderson County's financial viability, I think we all would hope that all sectors of our economy are hitting on all cylinders, including home builders. That is a very complicated, multifaceted issue, and whatever we can do to examine and help, I don't know of anybody who wouldn't want to do that. And now what fiscal court can do with public policy for that, who knows? Again, I think it's a matter of both supply and demand and availability of land and builders, and both inside the city and inside the county. So we'll keep examining. I think it's something that, again, is a market situation as much as it is anything else. So I know that Tony already had mentioned that they were interested in working with the home builders this fall to try to get some traction on that issue, and we'll keep track of that. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we look forward to seeing everybody next time.
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor can leave.